Hello and welcome back to this Orbiter 2016 video series. I'm Tex and this is episode 11 of Journey to Saturn. In the previous episode we launched from the surface of Rhea and actually talked a little bit about Rhea. So if you missed that episode, you can catch that on the channel. And in this episode, we're going to go ahead and set up a plan and get over toward, or at least get heading toward Enceladus, which will be our third moon to visit here at Saturn. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right in. Alright, welcome back into the cockpit of the Deep Star here. Now, I guess obviously the first order of business is we're going to start out with interplanetary and go to the target intercept program, target Enceladus, and we're just going to play around with the time of ejection and the time of intercept and just see what kind of solution we can come up with. Now, I did look at the moon-to-moon transfer spreadsheet that Dimitri had provided, and it looks like from Rhea to Enceladus, we should be looking at somewhere on the order of a total of 3,499 meters per second, with a total flight time of 1.4 days. It looks like the ejection burn here from Rhea is going to be about 1,439 meters per second, and the capture burn at Enceladus would be 2,059 meters per second. Now, I used this moon-to-moon calculator when I went from Titan to Rhea. However, it actually ended up costing more, delta V, than what the spreadsheet indicated. And I'm quite confident that it's something that I did. In any case, that just gives us an idea of what we can expect. So I'm playing around with these variables here, just trying to monitor the total delta V down here on the bottom left corner of interplanetary, and that's basically going to tell me the total of our outward velocity from Rhea and our inward velocity. I think that's inward velocity at Enceladus, if I'm reading that correctly. So yeah, that's what I'm just going to do right now, and it's going to take the little time to do this, and then I'll probably also set up a plan on TransX just to compare the two MFDs, and hopefully we can use interplanetary, because I really do enjoy using that MFD with the auto burn feature, and everything is very, very nice. Okay, so while I'm playing around with this and sort of looking for a solution, I guess I do have a little bit of news for you guys. So on the personal front, I guess you noticed that this episode obviously didn't come out last week because I was traveling for Thanksgiving. So I didn't have my my desktop computer that runs Orbiter with me, obviously, but I do have a laptop, so I was able to put together a video that I've been wanting to do about that interstellar asteroid. If you happen to have missed that, I'll put a card up at the top of the screen right now that you can click on and go watch it. Check it out. But yeah, you know, obviously I can put together something like that on the fly or sort of away from home with a laptop, whereas Orbiter doesn't technically run on a Mac. But you can make it run on a Mac, but I haven't played around with that. So in any case, so I do apologize about that, but this week's episode is obviously now out. You're watching it now, but hopefully it's not too boring, because basically we're just going to sort of repeat the steps that we've done so far. I do have sort of an idea for an exciting twist, maybe in the next coming episodes. So if I can make that work out, that will be great. So stay tuned for that for sure. But I feel like we're sort of reaching the end of the series because we will probably be heading back to Earth in the near future. the actual date that we had planned on heading back to Earth, the MJD anyways, was 59506. And you can see, actually looking at IMFD, that our current encounter date at Enceladus is 59415. So we have some time left, but we're getting reasonably closer to our planned departure date from Saturn to head back home. Also, I guess I should mention that for you guys who've been following me for a while, haven't really talked about it much, but I did recently, in the past year, I completed my associate's degree. I'm actually sort of doing that late in life because I started my own business pretty much straight out of high school, and I've been doing that for over 15 years now, I guess. Dang, it has been a while. And in any case, I went to school just because I had never gone to college, and it's something I wanted to, it's something I've always wanted to do, and I did really well. I actually graduated summa cum laude distinction in psychology. And I was planning to pursue a different career path. And I did put some applications in, but unfortunately, the career path that I was pursuing ended up not working out. I did not get the job that I was hoping to get. So that sort of leaves me in a little bit of a predicament now, because I do still have my business, and sort of had to make a decision. Do I want to continue with my business, grow it, and sort of make that the end game? Or do I want to go back to school, get my bachelor's degree, either continuing on the psychology path or in business or something, and pursue sort of a different career path? Being that I'm sort of 36 now, I'm running out of time, if you will. So to make, I guess, the story as short as possible, I've decided to, at this point, go ahead and stick with my business and grow it. I hired someone about 2 weeks ago, just before actually I learned the news that I didn't get the job, and so I guess that sort of worked out for the better. But anyways, it means that I have been incredibly busy with real life work, and as much as I do love making YouTube videos for you guys, it doesn't pay the bills. So if you'd like to help out in that department, I do have a Patreon page. I've announced it before. I don't want to spam you guys with it all the time, but if you'd like to help out, that's great. But even then, it's just, orbiter videos are such a niche market. It's not something that I ever anticipate that, I'm going to be making a career out of, and that's not really the goal. But if I can just cover the expenses that I put into making these videos, then that's a win, because honestly, it's a hobby, and if I made it a career, I think it would sort of take the fun out of it. I don't know how you could actually have a career just playing Orbiter, making Orbiter videos, but I mean making a career as a YouTuber, if you will. Anyways, that's not my goal. That's not my plan. I just wanted to put that out there and kind of update you on the life situation. So going forward, I am still planning on making videos, so don't worry about that. I may have to sort of back off a little bit from doing weekly videos. We might do like twice a month videos. When I do have more time on my hands, sometimes the seasons ebb and flow with my business. So I have busy seasons and slower seasons. So when I do have more time on my hands, I would fully intend on doing like another series where we're doing weekly type videos. So I just wanted to let you know that when we finish this series, I may take a little bit of time because I am way behind where I want to be on the Titan documentary. I've gotten quite a bit done while we were gone over Thanksgiving visiting family, but there's still a lot to be done. This thing has turned into a massive project. I'm also communicating with people who have made images, I guess, digital paintings sort of thing, and trying to purchase rights to use those in the video. So it's a lot of coordination and a lot of communicating with people back and forth. I'm also purchasing rights for the music that I'm using in the video. So it's, being a one-man team, it's a big project. I really do enjoy making these documentary films, though. So anyways, like I said, I don't want to bore you too much with my life news here, but just thought you guys should know that, I am rather busy with work. So I'm going to do my best to continue releasing videos as regularly as possible. But just know that it may not be every single week forever. Obviously, that's just not going to happen. But as long as we're in this Orbiter series, I'm going to continue releasing a video every week that I can here. We do have the Christmas holidays coming up, but we don't have many episodes left before we wrap up the series. So anyways, with all of that said, I did get a plan set up on IMFD and TransX. The delta V between the two was pretty similar. IMFD was actually a little more delta V than what TransX came up with. So what I'm doing now is adjusting the date using the scenario editor, because the eject date was so far in the future. There's no way that I'm going to sit here and speed time up to like 10,000 time acceleration while we're coasting really low above the surface of Rhea here. So I just want to get somewhere around 3,000 seconds from the ejection date, and that seems to have done it. Looking at TEG on the IMFD over there is about 3,200 seconds. And yeah, so let's just pull up IMFD on the right side. We'll use the map program. We'll hit projection there, and let's go ahead and reference Saturn, just so we can sort of get a bird's eye view of our situation here around Saturn and the orbits of the other moons and everything. So that will suffice for now. We're going to go ahead and point the vessel prograde. And I guess we have a little bit of coasting to do before we get to the ejection point, but it's not too bad. I'm actually just going to tweak the time of ejection and the time of encounter variables, just try and get that total delta V as low as I can now that we're much closer to the ejection point. And just take a sip of coffee here for a second. Okay, so pull up burn time MFD. Looks like we have about 61,594 meters per second remaining. And what I'm going to do is actually just write these down on the side here as we go. I'll take a note of our delta V remaining after each of the steps we do for pre-ejection and then after the ejection, and we'll go in at the end of the video and input that data into our spreadsheet, so we're not sort of going back and forth. We'll just do it all in one go. Okay, so we're just under 1,000 seconds from the burn. Let's time accelerate, and I guess we're probably getting close enough. We can go over to our burn vectors. No? Okay, wait a minute. Everything looks right. Burn vector. No burn vector. We're referencing Saturn, targeting Enceladus, source is Rhea. What's going on here? I recall something like this happened to me when I was trying to go to Rhea from Titan using IMFD. I do not know what's going on with that. I don't know if I'm doing something wrong or if there is in fact a bug with IMFD. If anyone knows, Mont Blanc or anyone else who's very knowledgeable with these MFDs and everything, let me know in the comments below or hit me up on my forum or any other medium. I am very curious if you have seen this issue. I of course will make the scenarios available for everyone. I did a quick save after I had the after I had a plan on both IMFD and TransX, so you would be able to load that scenario with the plan on both of those programs. In any case, it doesn't look like IMFT is going to work, unfortunately. So what I'm going to do here is just readjust TransX and get our closest approach back down so we actually have an encounter over here at Enceladus. I'm going to adjust all the variables except for the date. I might adjust it just a little bit, but obviously we're so close to the ejection time we can't push the date back too much, or we will already have passed it. So we're just checking now, so we're okay. We can bump it back a little bit more, and obviously we have an encounter there. You can see it on the right side. I'm just trying to set it up. I mean, that's fine. We're coming in prograde. Inclination is 57 degrees, 59 degrees, so that's fine. Capture delta is at 2100, and what did I say? Burn number 2 is going to be about 2059 meters per second, so that's pretty darn close. So that's fine. And then our delta V for the ejection is 1400, so that's right at. So it looks like this plan on TransX is precisely what Dimitris' spreadsheet was predicting. So perhaps that's for the better. However, dang it, look at that relative inclination. 68.24 degrees. Our relative inclination to the plan is way off. Oh man, and we're so close to the burn here. Let's go to a line plane and put in the ecliptic inclination and the longitude of the ascending node from TransX. So that's about 75 seconds of burn time, and wouldn't you know it, we're past the node. Dang it. Why you gotta do this to me, Orbiter? Oh, man. Wait a minute. Okay. Let me think for a second here. So let's, you know what, I didn't set the eject orientation. So let's set the PE distance while we're here real quick. So that's about 775, somewhere in there. Okay, that's done. Let's go to eject orientation. We need to swing that white line over our current position because that's going to affect what the actual relative inclination is. Let's get a different view. Maybe focus would be easier to see because it's so incredibly off. It's sort of ridiculous. And oh man, that made it worse. Relative inclination is actually 116 degrees off. Oh man. That is not the way I wanted to start this flight. No, 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 no. Okay, so let's readjust this ELS number here. It's 53.56 degrees and 91.62 degrees. So, oh, good lord. That's 270 seconds of burning. And you know, I don't think it's gonna... I could be wrong, but Enceladus orbits closer... Yeah, Enceladus orbits closer to Saturn than Rhea does. So if we were to correct the inclination after we eject Rhea, then it would probably cost more because we'd be closer to Saturn and we'd be going faster. I don't know. So I'm just doing the burn now. Because honestly we just don't have a lot of time. The time to the ejection burn is counting down, and so yeah, alright, so this is going to be a little bit sloppy. I do apologize about that, but we're just going to have to do this this burn here because I cannot think of a better way to do it right now. I don't think doing what I did last time where I sort of coasted up away from Titan's sphere of influence will work with Rhea, because at Rhea, I mean, the G contribution is barely high enough for us to technically be feeling much of anything from Rhea because it's so close to Saturn's and dominant G field, and on top of that, Rhea is much smaller than Titan was. Anyway, this is getting the job done. Unfortunately, it's going to mean a lot more delta V usage. I'm going to predict somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 meters per second at least. That's definitely kind of crappy. Alright, so just bear with me here. You can see that the relative inclination is coming down, so we're at 40 degrees now and falling. I'm just going to gulp some more coffee and just close my eyes for a minute and pretend that this didn't happen. Okay, so we have managed to get the relative inclination down to about 0. Of course, we will tweak that. Just go ahead and point to prograde again here. Of course, as usual, when I'm doing a plane change, the engines here on the Deep Star are far too powerful for the autopilot to hold the vessel oriented in the correct orientation for that burn. So I had to basically manually use rotation RCS to sort of keep it pointed in the right direction, and I didn't do a great job of that because you can see that our apoapsis actually raised up pretty high. So just sort of recircularized the orbit there with my linear RCS, and we'll just fine-tune the relative inclination with linear RCS. There we go. Get that nice and low, so that's fine. Honestly, we'll probably do one more adjustment just before the ejection burn. So taking a look at what we actually have left in delta V there, so it's 60,463 meters per second. What did we have before? I wrote down 61. It was 61,594. So minus 60,463. So we used 1,131 meters per second. Ouch! Yes, indeed, that was a lot of delta V. So I suppose, yeah, definitely we would not have survived this flight with the XR2 cutting things super close. So I suppose it's a good thing we did bring Deep Star with us. Alright, so basically we're looking good. We're just going to time accelerate and get over to the ejection point. We're about a quarter of an orbit away there. And like I said, we'll do one more tweak to the relative inclination just before the ejection burn, make sure that's good to go. I'm actually going to do a manual burn here with TransX instead of setting up a maneuver. Just something a little bit different, and we'll see how that comes out, and maybe you'll have an opportunity to see a different way to conduct an ejection burn here. So as we approach the ejection point, let's just tweak the relative inclination very quickly. We're going to get that line laid directly over our position and just use some linear RCS. Okay, so that's about as good as it's going to get. So we'll stay pointed prograde and continue coasting until we reach the begin burn.
Rotation.
And we're burning. Now I suppose I could have used burn time MFD, now that I think about it, to set up at least how much delta V we need to burn, but that's okay. We're going to totally Buck Rogers manual fly this ejection and just see how bad things are. Alright, so now interestingly, that's weird. So for some reason the nose of Deep Star wants to actually fall down, and it didn't used to do that. I don't know why that's happening. I wonder if it has something to do with the fact that the lander that's now redocked to Deep Star has less fuel in it, so it's not balanced anymore. I wonder if there's something up with that, because that's creating a problem. As the nose falls down, it's affecting our relative inclination. Dang it, so I'm having to really stay on top of things here. Alright, so I'm having to make sure that that doesn't happen, so our relative inclination does not move too far away from from zero, but I'm also having to yaw to the left or to the right as needed, because what I'm watching on the very bottom of TransX is the semi-major difference, along with, of course, our delta V. So our delta V, of course, is coming down because we're burning prograde, if I can talk today, and we want delta V, obviously, to be on 0, as usual. relative inclination, of course, on 0 as usual, but semi-major difference is not something I usually talk about because I usually set up a maneuver when I'm using TransX. And that maneuver basically gives you the X on the target screen, and you just point at that X. Now, since we don't have that, we have to actually take into account that that third variable there, that semi-major difference, and we can adjust that by yawing to the right or the left. So again, we do want that on 0 as well. You can see it actually got down to 0, or I mean basically almost completely 0, and then it sort of started to climb up again. So I'm just going to yaw back and forth as needed to try and keep that as low as possible as our delta V is coming down. So our delta V is coming down at this point, and we don't have a whole lot of burning left. You can see that our velocity has already gotten us, out of Rhea's orbit. That happened very early with Rhea being so small. But we do need to continue burning until all of those numbers get to 0, so that we're at least leaving Rhea on the trajectory that we calculated. Alright, so it's a sort of a handful here, trying to stay on top of things, but bear with me, and we're almost there. And engine cutoff. So I cut off obviously just a little early as usual. I like to do that. We're going to complete it with linear RCS. So let's just use linear RCS. We're going to get relative inclination, semi-major difference, and delta V, all of that down perfectly on 0 as close as we can get it. So that looks good. The relative inclination, delta V, looks fine. Semi-major difference, that's as low as it's going to get. Yeah, so that looks fine, and you can actually see that our green trajectory is laying directly over the hypothetical yellow dash trajectory. So everything looks fine at this point. Taking a look at burn time, so it's 58,950 meters per second remaining after the ejection burn. So let's just hop over to the spreadsheet now and put those numbers in. Okay, so you can see I entered these lines in here. So we have for the Rhea plane change, so what we started out with at 61,594 is already in. So after that plane change, that rather costly plane change, we'll put in 60,463. Just check that. Yeah, that's right. So that was 1,131 meters per second, that incredibly costly plane change took. And then after the Rhea ejection burn, we had 58,950 meters per second remaining. So what, that's 1,500 meters per second. That's pretty close. We, according to Dimitris' spreadsheet, it was supposed to be 1,439. So at least that part came out according to plan. Oof. But God, that one right here, that just hurts looking at that. All right. Well, listen, guys, once again, thank you, as always, for watching the series. It's been a lot of fun. I know I say it all the time, but it's true. This is probably one of my favorite Orbiter series videos that I've worked on. And like I said about the news with my life, don't worry, I still plan on making videos, and I'm really excited about this Titan documentary video, so I really want to get more work done on that, and I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. So until next week, we will continue with episode 12, and until then, thank you for watching. I hope you guys are all doing really well. So take care, and I'll see you guys then.